Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Karachi United TV. And here have two of our very special guests with us today, Zoya and Nina. They are an integral part of our women's team and really amazing players and have a lot of experience as well in terms of women's football and in terms of the development of the Karachi United women's team as well. We'll start off with a question for Zoya. Zoya, hello.
Yeah, hi.
How did you start playing football and what are your earliest playing memories?
So I think the first time I started playing was just in school. I think one of the Euro Cups had happened and I got really involved with it. So that's like my first like main inspiration to start playing. And I feel like everybody was sort of going through the same phase at the same time. So even in school, everybody just started playing more. So initially we started playing in school and then later on, like maybe like 10 years later, two of my school friends decided to get together and tell Karachi United that they should, have a women's division as well. So that's how it started.
Fantastic, great. I can pose that same question to Nina. Nina, what are your first playing memories and how did you get into the sport?
I started when I was young with my cousins, with my boy cousins basically, because not a lot of women used to play back then. And it was usually like just kicking the ball, and I didn't really know how to play. I used to kick the ball with my toes and just like run around at the ball. So it was completely like free play. But eventually, like I got into sports and like I used to play basketball and netball and all the other sports. But when I was 17, a friend of mine told me that a women's club is holding some trials, and I ended up there. And like it changed my life, to be honest. That's how I got into football, and I met all of these guys, beautiful people.
Fantastic. Did you guys have any role models when you started playing or before you started playing that sort of inspired you to practice more or to just kind of become better players?
Nina, you want to go
Unfortunately,
first?
Nina,
unfortunately, there weren't like any celeb or like professional players in the country, but I did have mentors in the women's team only. Basically, my friends who started the women's team, and I used to look up to them too because they were like pioneers. Like nobody had done what they were doing, and it was just beautiful to see everything start from scratch, and that made me more like motivated. That's why like I ended up playing and I ended up working for the organization as well.
Same question? Okay.
same question. Yeah,
Um,
same.
okay. So for me, it's sort of like what Nina said, that we didn't have a lot of female role models for football growing up, or even actually while we were playing so much other than each other. So I think it was like the same, like Ronaldo, and back then, like when I really started getting into football, it was like, you know, Thierry Henry and all these guys, but it was basically just celebrity male footballers.
Right. Both of you go ahead, Tumdan.
Yeah, any specific player that you guys used to model your game around? I think like Zoya mentioned Thierry Henry or Nina. Any specific player that you guys modeled your game around or
I used to
always
be a
wanted
big
to?
Yeah, I used to be a big Chelsea fan back in the day when I used to watch a lot of football. So I used to love Torres. I know he missed a lot of goals and like he was sometimes really terrible, but like I really like looked up to him because I found my game similar to his. Because when like sometimes when you're under pressure and you miss goals, like he did a couple of times, you just like I
So
looked up to him.
yeah,
Yeah.
Nina was
Not
actually
a couple
center
of
forward
times,
as
huh?
well. So Nina
Yeah.
supported Chelsea and she was center forward, and she had this jersey that said Torres on it.
I
And
remember.
she would always have that
Yeah,
on
yeah.
when she'd come to training. It was really funny. Um,
Nina, as a striker, as Zoya mentioned, you played center forward and you've scored a lot of goals. You've also, like any striker, you've probably missed a lot of chances as well. From your experience and kind of advising young upcoming footballers, any advice you can give them for when you're on a drought and you can't seem to find the back of the net? What are some sort of tools that you use to get back in form?
I mean, definitely I had those phases, those dry spells when I used to be in tournaments and I used to just blank out in front of the goal. It was just an open chance and I would just overkick it or like let it like loose. I mean, having really good coaches, like we had Kareem as our coach a lot of times in the summer, and we used to look up to his coaching as well.
Really
And I
don't have
think
to
the
say that.
best thing,
No, I
the best
agree.
thing, I think the best thing a striker can do is be more composed, and it's not just on the field; it is also beyond the field in what you do. Like even if you're going to school or wherever you are, don't like be too stressed, and don't, even if there's pressure, take that to your advantage. Like don't panic. Just be more composed is my advice to all those players.
Zoya, you were a defender, and you've played in all positions, but mainly you would play the left back or right back. So for you, it was, I guess, a little different. Maybe if a striker was dribbling past you like Nina, she's so hard to keep up with. But if she would
Yeah,
dribble
yeah.
past you a few times, what kind of techniques did you use to get yourself back in the game,
Um,
get your confidence high?
so I think that so I feel like playing like a defender position mentally is sort of challenging in the sense that if you're really pumped, that might actually, it's a great thing to be pumped and to be aggressive and to go for it. But I think one of the main things that you have to keep in mind for playing that position, which I think that Hamdan and you have taught us, is basically to actually hold back a lot. So for example, if Nina is dribbling in, if I wouldn't just, I have to train my mind to not jump in and go for the tackle because she could just dodge me and go. And if she manages to dodge me, then it's sort of like there's probably nobody behind me other than maybe one center back, right? So we're kind of in trouble then. So one of the most important things for a defender position is actually to be patient and wait and stay with the player, but not go for it until you really have a shot because you can't take that risk. So that patience is really important.
I think
I definitely
that's a great
agree.
advice. Huh? We always tell our players
Yeah.
not to jump in and not to put your foot in. And we're very glad you've taken that advice all the way to, it
Yeah.
stuck with you.
Remember,
It's so
we used to like learn,
well,
like we used to really focus on jockeying and not jumping in.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard for a
absolutely.
striker to be facing a defender that's jockeying them, because then you always want them to pounce and be on you so that you could cut off and get inside. But if they're jockeying you, they're taking you away from the goal, and it's really hard to score from the side. We all know that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and one of the fun, like interesting things is that a lot of our like practice games we used to play with guys, and guys like no matter how good you are, a lot of them, and even if they're maybe not in so much training, they are faster. So one of the ways to sort of draw them out is to sort of jockey and not just go for it.
Absolutely, yeah. Great. I think
Yeah,
fantastic advice.
yeah,
And as Hamdan said,
yeah.
I think this is a principle that's vital for any player, whether you're a defender, midfielder, or a striker. Guys, moving towards the National Women's Championship that you guys did amazingly in the previous one, and you guys reached the finals, you had a great run. I don't really focus on the good stuff. I want to get into the nitty gritty not details, but any stories you guys have of the difficult times, because I think sport teaches us a lot about adversity and a lot about the difficult moments and how to get out of those difficult moments. So if you guys could just each of you share maybe one example of when the going got tough in terms of the team as a team dynamic or individually, if you guys were struggling with something and you had to
Like an
overcome that.
incident or like how to overcome it
Yeah,
or like
a
or
specific
what we learned from it.
yeah, I mean, I know it's a little personal, but just a specific incident that you had to face and
Um, so I think that having played and two nationals so far in so many matches, the thing is the higher the platform is, the tougher the competition. And when you're winning, you're like in great spirits. But sometimes when you actually make it to the end, like you said that we made it to the finals, that means you are competing against the best, right? Um, so we have obviously had losses that were pretty bad and that we weren't necessarily prepared for even. I think the main thing during that time when you have that pressure and you're feeling low and like, there's no way to come back is actually to try and focus on what your own game is. Um, and just remember what you had been taught during drill. So for example, at KU, we all like know this, that we focus on passing and not just scoring goals necessarily, but we have so much focus on trying to get those touches, the right touches, and trying to use everybody on the on the team and make a play, right? So I think when you're under pressure, that's actually the tough thing, to try and maintain that and remember that, because then everybody just tries to start going for it. And if you can't make it, which is obviously why you're losing, because there's probably a stronger defense or something on the other side, um, clearly you can't just keep using the same formula and pushing through, because they do have a solid defense, right? So the main thing is to try and use all your players and keep doing what you're supposed to be doing, but it's just very difficult to do that at that time.
How did you manage to kind of make sure the team continues to do that and not
So like during the
crumble under the
nationals,
pressure?
every time we would feel pressure, I think the most important thing was to communicate and even yell out to your players, calm down. We would just constantly remind each other, keep passing the ball, pass back, pass back. Passing back is really important, because that gives you so much more depth and so much more room, and it gives you more time. So when you're under pressure, you can kind of regain that composure. So the minute we would feel like the midfielders are under pressure and they keep trying to take the ball forward and then they're not being able to, we would start yelling like, pass the ball back, and then we would sort of pass it back to Shoes, who's our center back, and then she would sometimes even pass it back to the goalie, just to try and remind ourselves. So that's like a constant thing that we even practice during training, like just remind each other to pass the ball back and calm down and keep up.
Nina, over to you.
I think, yeah,
Yeah.
I think apart from, sorry, Hamdan, you're saying something.
Yeah, no, I was just asking. I think we'll continue after your answer. It's something related to the NWC, but after your answer.
Okay. I think since Zoya is like completely perfectly mentioned the on the field problems, I would like to bring up like problems, not problems, but things that we had to face off the field. I think we were all used to being part of the team, but suddenly the roles had reversed, because we had children who were 12 years old, who were 13, who were 11, who were 9 in the national women's team. And suddenly our roles were reversed and we had to be mentors for them, because they're actually the future of football. And we had to pass on our knowledge to them, our team ethics to them. So the national championship was great, but outside that, we also had the responsibility to bring them up, show them what football is really about, and make sure that they carry it forward to the next generation as well. We had a couple of tough challenges, but I think Zoya as a captain did really well. And we also like try to get team bonding in. And this was our first, actually our second try, but my first try with KU. And I loved every minute of it. I know that we lost the final, but I came off the field and I felt proud. And I won last year and didn't feel proud then, but I felt proud this time. So, yeah.
So I think this was the first time that you guys played at home soil as well, in terms of the ground as well. This was your home ground, and a lot of your friends and family were there to see all of your games. How was that feeling like? क्योंकि मैंने कभी भी किसी ऐसे स्टेडियम में नहीं खेला है जहाँ पे मेरे दोस्त और मेरे फैमिली मेंबर साथ बैठे हों and cheering me on or anything like that. But with that, there is an added pressure as well, ना कि they're coming there to watch me for the first time. दिमाग में होता है, there's always we're thinking, I need to perform at a certain level. How was that experience? I mean,
Nina, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I feel like we did way better in the semis, and when the crowd wasn't that, the stadium wasn't that full. But in the final, definitely the pressure did get to us, because I know my parents were out there. People from scouting agencies were there, like people from both the teams were there, and it was a lot of pressure, of course. And then we were playing with, then again, kids, and we had to show that leadership on the pitch as well. And even getting scored on, we had to keep more composed. And I think it was good and it was bad at the same time, but it's good practice for the next national championship.
I actually think it's great having support, friends and family, even if that does put that added pressure on to do better. I think sometimes that is the motivating factor. And it's interesting because even though, I mean, nationals haven't happened in Karachi before, but other matches have, and my friends and family honestly never came because all our grounds are in such remote areas that even we would just like carpool and go together. And like maybe my family came like once 10 years ago when I initially started. So this whole time, like they didn't really see me playing, and they didn't, I mean, they knew I would go for training and I'd have matches, but they never actually saw me. So it's actually for the first time at nationals that I had my like mom and dad there watching me, and they're actually pretty impressed, which was very motivating.
That's great, fantastic. Both of you have actually been involved with football and the women's game for, I think, 10 odd years, and I was just interested in knowing that what are some of the changes that you guys have seen take place over the course of the 10 years. Have you guys seen changes? Have you not seen changes? Have they been positive? Have they been negative? I know a little broad question, but just wanted to get your thoughts on that. Zoya, you can go first,
Should
or
I go
anybody,
first?
whoever's ready to jump
I,
in.
okay. I think that obviously 10 years is a long time, and and when we started there wasn't really any female football in Pakistan, if even football in generally. Obviously it's coming up a lot for the males. Um, but and there have been ups and downs. There were points where it felt like, yeah, there are so many teams, there is so much potential, we're having nationals, just seeing so many teams from the country coming together. It was a good feeling, and it was exciting to see that there are other female teams and that there is so much potential. But honestly, the road has been sort of up and down. Like there have been dry spells where there's been no football, and we didn't even know if our team would make it, or like just continue because of lack of attendance for like 100 different reasons, whether it's funding, whether it's lack of like competition, whether it's people's commitment not being able to make it a professional career. There's just so many things. So I feel like it's been up and down. In my mind, I think just the fact that it's happening is very important, and that's the most important thing for me, to make sure that at least that continues, and that we shouldn't take steps back, which is my motivation to sort of just keep just trying to get it to continue. But I think it's been up and down. Like even when I think that, oh, like so many people, like we post so much on social media about the women's team, so many times I like tell people that, okay, I play football in Pakistan on a women's team, and they're shocked that there even is such a thing. Even if they're from Karachi, even if they know about Karachi United, they haven't heard of it. So I feel like it's up and
Nina?
down.
Yeah, I think Zoya has pretty much covered it. I would maybe like add on to the fact that personally, I remember like joining KU, and we only had like 3 people training for a year basically, or like 5 or 10, that's it. But eventually right now we're like a squad of 25, 30, and people keep coming in. And I think that's the biggest win, because women are more okay with playing now. They're more okay with getting out. They're more okay with using their bodies and like playing football, and being more accepting of the sport itself. That's a big win, and you see way more teams now than they were there before. And they're very new young talent that you see in Pakistan. Even you saw in the national championship, very like 12-year-old and 13-year-olds that are definitely going to be the next big players in the country, and I'm really looking forward to that. So for the sake of that, I wish that it continues and like goes further.
Yeah, and just one thing to add to what Nina's saying, I think that one change I have seen over the decade is that generally in Pakistan, and especially Karachi, there's like a new fitness craze. And yes, that might be for gymming or it might be for yoga more than football, but I feel like a lot of people, a lot of women that are like now starting to actually I think tap into their athletic selves are actually much more prone to playing football. So, for example, we have an open futsal session that used to happen before Corona once a week, where we would just sort of invite anybody, even if they don't have prior experience in playing football, right? Like all women, whether they're married or have kids or have work and they can't commit to actually being on the team, and we would have most days a pretty good turnout, because and those were people that were into yoga or that were into gymming, so they were generally fit and they were inclined towards like football. So I feel like that is one good trend that might help women's football. Yeah.
So Nina, you've had the privilege of playing abroad as well, if I'm not wrong. You went over for your university and you played over there as well. How do you compare the two environments back in London and over here at KU? I mean, what's the difference? Just for our viewers, how is it like playing abroad?
I think it was maybe like ever since I started football, it was a dream to at least play something abroad, or even like train over there with someone. And somehow like it did come true for me, and I'm very grateful. But I think there is a huge difference because their leagues are set up, their tournaments are happening every month, and they have games every weekend. They have so much stuff happening that women are actually training professionally for it. They take their fitness seriously, they take their diet seriously. People over here need that mindset that's missing, but people over there definitely have that mindset to be the best, and they would like give in all to train over there, because there is so much competition over there that you have to train, you have to make sure you're getting the right nutrition, make sure you're waking up early, make sure you're disciplined. It goes beyond the pitch, because skills you can develop, but like the mental strength over there, and the girls who had it, I was really impressed. And also like they started at a very young age. I started when I was 17. That's perhaps too late to be like playing really professionally, but they started when they were like 5, they were 6, and you see that they were like glued to the ball. It was so natural for them, and I wish like children over here also start at that age so they can get there.
Like Zoya, you were captain of the team last year, and you've also just had a leadership role within the women's team for many years. We always hear about how sport and football can shape your life. It can give you good values. It can affect your personality. These are sort of things we hear about from coaches, from books. But let's hear it firsthand from a player. Does it really impact your life? Did it really change your personality, or is this just a myth?
I think that there are two things mainly. One of them might not apply to everybody, but it definitely applies to teams in Karachi. The first thing is, if you do get involved in football, that gives you a lot of exposure, because you have people coming from all parts of the country and you're going to all parts of the city to play football. So I think exposure is just one really good aspect of it, in a sense, which I think helps you in anything in life and dealing with people. That's the first thing. And definitely, like, I've met amazing people through football. I think the second thing, which is a sort of more generalized thing, but I think the very important thing, is basically attitude. I think that's one thing that it really affects. Whether
Attitude?
it's like, yes, attitude. Whether it's just teamwork, or whether it's just seeing that there's so many different personalities on the team, but that everybody still has to work cohesively towards one goal, that basically develops a positive or more accommodating attitude, or more, and I think that's one thing that you can take forward. um Maybe for other people it does add discipline or motivation or other things, but I think those are the two most important things for me, at least.
Then you're mute.
An emo- yeah, an emotional question for you guys. You've been part of KU for like 7 or 8 years, or 10 years, if I'm not wrong. How has that impacted your lives as general? How's that experience all along, from KU coming in as a rookie player all the way up till playing at a professional level, and apart from that, your own personalities as well? How has KU impacted you?
Zoya, you want to go or should I go?
I think Zoya just touched upon
You
it.
go.
So Nina, you can go for it.
Yeah.
I think okay, like it started way off when I was a child, of course. Like I was in school, and like obviously I didn't get along with some of my friends, so like I took all of my personality and all of my anger, all of my whatever excitedness into sport, right? So I used to always be into sports in school, and but unfortunately, as I said before, there wasn't any football for me. But eventually, when I was 17, I was very, very, very happy to know that this is one sport I can focus into for the rest of my life. And I fell in love with it the moment like I touched the ball. And I know that sounds dramatic, but I actually did fall in love with it. Um, I think personally, it did help me become more disciplined on the field, outside. It helped me set up a goal for myself. It helped me improve. Every time I was angry at life or anything, I used to just be home and kick the ball against the wall and like think about stuff, you know. So that ball really helped me. Football really helped me understand myself more. It also helped me figure out what I like, what I don't like, who I want to be. Basically, it answered the question, "Who am I?" for me. And being with friends around and like having that emotional support as well around while playing football. I mean, it's just a sport for the person who's looking from the outside. But for us as a team, I think this was just us communicating through the ball. But like we're sharing our feelings, we're sharing our anger, we're sharing emotions, we're sharing love, and it has been absolutely fantastic. And I don't think I'll ever forget football. Even if I'm like 90, I'll still be kicking that ball.
You
Yeah,
guys are
I
telling
can't
me.
agree
I
more.
need
Like if
wait.
my someone like really
I need the
emotional and
tissue.
dramatic,
I need tissue,
I
man. I'm gonna
I
cry.
I feel like
football is
I
like
feel
our
like I need a
life.
ball.
Like
But
on
I
and
don't
off
play
the pitch,
that
like
much, but I feel like I want a ball and go
football is our
onto the
life, and
pitch.
yours, like, yeah,
Zoya, what are you
yeah.
saying?
I'm saying that, and like, she's not being dramatic at all. Like, that's actually how big of a part of our lives it has been. And all of us collectively, like, we're friends on and off the pitch. Like, that was our social life, our emotional life for a lot of people, like Nina, their professional life, and then also their passion. So, it's literally been, I mean, it is basically like a lifestyle, I just say, or actually life itself, because at least I'm completely lost without football. Like football gave me structure in my week. Like I'm like lost without it.
Honestly, you guys are just inspiring us to just go outside and start playing right now. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps. You
Yeah,
know.
and one really important thing, when you're on the pitch, you just forget about everything else. Like all your other problems are like they've just disappeared for those 2 hours. Like
It's like
gone.
it's like you guys are saying take this football and everything will be fine. All your life's problems
At
will
least for
go away.
those 2 hours when you're with your
It's
friends
actually
and you're
true.
playing football, like nothing else matters. Like it's just a pause to everything else.
So, guys,
Yeah.
let's take this question and take it a step further. Okay. So, each of you share the most powerful moment you've experienced on a football pitch. It could be anything. It could be, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it could be bending the
Okay.
ball into the top corner. It could be whatever,
I think
anything.
I have something like it just like clicked in my mind right
Okay,
now.
go
It's
for it.
one of the most powerful, but I have other powerful stories. This is something that just popped in. I think I remember like going to this national championship. I don't remember the year, but I remember like Kareem told us to like visualize something before like going into the semi-final. And so I was like lying down on the bunk bed, and all the girls, we all shared a room, and I was lying down on the bunk bed. I was looking at the wall, and the wall was completely blank, but I used obviously my imagination to create a football pitch on the wall, and I imagined the corners of the pitch, I imagined the goalposts, I imagined everything, me running, like my tiny self running, and all the other tall people like defending me and everything. And how I would touch the ball, how I would kick the ball, how I would score the goal. And I swear, like everything that I imagined, like most of it came true the next day. And like that showed me the power of like visualization. In that moment, we were losing like 1-0 or 2-0. And I remember scoring 2 goals just because I had visualized that the night before, and I scored exactly like that. And that was such a powerful moment because that like made us qualify into the finals, and it was just beautiful. And I think football is related to what your mind is also thinking, and the mental strength has to be there when you're playing football.
Amazing. Zoya, it's going
Wow.
to be hard to top that.
That's really
But,
cool.
you know,
I definitely don't have a story to top that. I can't even think of one specific incident that I would feel like is the most powerful. I mean, obviously when you win a ball, or when you actually even when you're able to make that perfect pass, I definitely don't have a specific moment like that. Um, but I think, generally speaking, one of like my favorite times on the pitch was actually our early morning Sunday matches, which were friendly matches, and we would just wake up on a Sunday, drag ourselves out of bed. I remember Marshall used to like give us wake up
I
calls, and
I
like,
have some
and
memories
then
of those
sometimes
games, huh,
Nina would like
actually.
call back. Yeah, that was actually the first time I met you at one of those, I think.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I have very good
and then
memories
we'd
of
like,
that
one of
Sunday
like
morning.
girlfriends would come pick me up in the car, and then we'd go play football, and it was so hot. And then after that, after playing like till we just like lie around in the grass with like the wind blowing, and then go get breakfast somewhere. So I think that at
amazing.
that, like, that was just like, and that happened like so many times. But those are probably the most, I think, funnest, if not most powerful. Although it felt pretty empowering because we were like a bunch of chicks like
Yeah.
going to play football
Yeah,
on
we could
Sunday
be like
morning.
girls,
It's
we
pretty
could do
nice.
whatever. We felt powerful, I think, doing all those
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
And then we'd be like really spontaneous. Like after the match, we'd be like in really good spirits. We were like ready to do anything, like go to the beach or like do something.
I'm sure the
I don't
rest of
know, just hang out.
the rest of the day also went well, and you
We
were
just spent the rest of the
upbeat.
day like cooling off, honestly. But like it was really nice.
Wow, amazing, sounds great.
Yeah, just if you guys were in charge of the women's division in Pakistan, what is that one thing that you would change or would you add which is not present in this current structure? What's that one thing that you would like to change or introduce or anything that you would do? Just one thing.
Nina?
Something that comes on the top of my head, like there's definitely a lot of improvement that needs to be done. Like it has to be thought of and like written down. I think Zoya as a lawyer can help us too. But one thing that I would say is that they need to be more fair. They need to stop promoting one or two players. They need to start football at a grassroots level and establish clubs all around the country and get women to play at a younger age so that the interest is developed and, not just carry one-off tournaments and just like bank on that. I think it has to be a structural thing and consistent and persistent throughout. That's something I would change if I was in charge.
Focusing more on the grassroots development and getting more youth girls into football. Yeah, I can absolutely agree with
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. Agreed.
Zoya?
I think the one thing that I would change, again, like there are so many things, and what I'm gonna say means a lot of things. But I think one of the main things that I think need to happen is we need to focus on football. I think a lot of times, not at our club, but like overall, even with like the Pakistan Football Federation, women's football is seen as secondary to men's football. In terms of the money coming in terms of the competition, in terms of sometimes the kits, in terms of the supplies, in terms of the coaches, in terms of the football. I mean, at Karachi United, we have the same ground that we train on, but like even if there's like at national level, like the women's um competition is given second priority to men. So I think if we wanted to develop, the first thing that we need to do is actually give it like sincere and serious focus, and that means all of these things.
I think this problem is perhaps common world over as well. I think globally there's a movement,
Yeah.
especially from the US women's team, right, to give more importance
Yeah.
to the women's football. In fact, just recently during this Corona and COVID times, the Women's Football League in England, they have already relegated the teams that are lower down in the league without resuming the league like they are doing with the men's team, with the men's division. So there is uproar about that as well, right? Like, why is the men's league able to finish their season and the women's league has just been written off?
Yeah, I think everywhere, but in Pakistan, where there's so many issues anyway, like even the men's division struggles because of the same reasons, it just becomes so much worse for women.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys. I've had an absolute blast, and it's a pleasure having both of you on.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
We had a great time. This was
And
fun.
take care of
Nice
yourselves.
catch-up session as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And take care of yourselves during this COVID times. And I hope we can all be back on the pitch playing again soon.
Yeah, I would love to.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we don't have to wait till 90 years old, huh, Nina?
Yeah. I hope the vaccine comes soon, man.
Okay, guys.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.